Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 5 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Make sure to follow us on your podcast platform of choice, and if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video, and I can guarantee you there will be cookies in your near future. I started my day today with cookies and it is a wonderful day. Alright, on to the stories, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Alarming Spread 2883. Ask me for 4 eggs, I give you 4 eggs, using the policy I explained to you 5 times while you were ordering. This is a doozy that happened to me at my old job, a server at a breakfast place, where I fully acknowledge that there's no need for an am I the butthole because I am the butthole, and I know it. I was having a particularly overwhelming shift, and about 3 hours into a 6-hour shift, 2 people came in that were particularly known for their being divorced and completely loathing one another quite openly to the servers and staff, and were overall very loud and rude to guests and staff alike. Every other weekend, they would come in to go over paperwork and divorce things, and the server who would get them always got sympathy from the rest of us. I had the pleasure of serving these lovely people a few times, and all of the times were so insanely different in terms of weirdness. But let's just get into this one. They come in and it ends up being my turn in the rotation. Yikes, but I thought me and the guy were chill because last time I served them, I told him I liked his dinosaur shirt and his ex-wife made fun of him for it. And I told her I thought it was a cool shirt and he and I high-fived, and it was the most invigorating experience of my life. I come up to them and ask what I can get started for their drinks, and I can tell it's going to be a tense experience already. They were both very snappy and rude, and I was doing my best to just stay friendly. Fast forward and I'm asking for their orders, and the guy orders 4 eggs. I explain to him we double our yolks. If you order 4 eggs, you will receive 8 total eggs. He tells me no, he wants 4 eggs. So I tell him, okay, so that is going to show up as 2 eggs in our system and on your receipt. He tells me no, he wants 4 eggs. At this point, I don't know what to tell him, but I try one more time. I tell him, yes, you will receive 4 eggs on your plate, but it will say 2 on the receipt. He says, no, I don't want to pay for 2, I want to pay for 4. I'm done. At this point, I'm more confused than he is. I tell him, okay, and I write it down on my order sheet. I put in the order manually because we do not have a button for 4 eggs because we double our eggs. The head cook calls me over. He says, 4? I say, that's what the customer ordered. He says, okay, and he makes the most beautiful over easy sheet of 8 eggs with a side of bacon. It comes out and I serve it to him. He looks at me and says, this isn't what I ordered. I say, yes it is. And he says, fine, I'll take it. I got yelled at for it at the end of my shift, but it was so worth the look on his face when I served it to him, and the laughs it got from my coworkers who told me they wished it was them to serve it to him. One of my favorite moments from working at that place. I have a picture of the 8-egg beauty, but I can't post it here. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called ICOM. It says, it confuses me as well. Why would a restaurant do it? Just cut the price by half and don't confuse people anymore. Then you can say that your eggs are good and really cheap or something. Another commenter down below called Stock Caregiver 2616 said, I understand that he wasn't listening to you, but why does the restaurant do that? Why not have 1 egg equals 1 egg? What if you only want 1 egg? Will you always get at least 2? Unfortunately, OP didn't respond to any of the comments on this one, so we don't know the reason for them doubling up on the yolks, but I can think on this one that maybe they're doing something else with egg whites and they have a bunch of leftover yolks, because they said they don't double the eggs, they said they double the yolks. It really is an odd situation though, and I don't understand why the restaurant does it that way to make it confusing for the customers. This story comes to us from Oiram. Leave things as the professionals said it. I shared this in a comment a while ago and was told I should share it, so I thought I would finally get around to sharing it with a little more information. About a decade ago, I worked for a big name company, Electrostatic Powder Coating Semi-Wheels. The GM, who was actually a really good boss, got a trainer to come in and teach me what I was doing right and wrong. A week after we got things narrowed down with the settings on the machines, that my quality improved a lot and my quantity of wheels I could paint in a day improved by about 5 to 10 per day. I was now averaging anywhere from 50 to 65 wheels a day. I used those same settings for almost a year before that same GM started messing with them. I had a few wheels from a trash company come to me covered in dried mud one day, not the first time and wasn't going to be the last. I had knocked off as much as I could before stripping them and did my best to blow off what dust was left. I still missed some spots on the edges. Usually when this happens, I end up with tiny holes on the edges of the rims. That day, the GM had come back to get a count of paint and see what needed to be ordered. What's with all the holes on the edges of these wheels? It's from dirt. I didn't get it all off when I blew off the wheels. Dirt doesn't cause this. I think your settings are the issue. I'm telling you it's dirt. Every time we get these customers' wheels in with dried mud all over them, this is what happens. Dirt doesn't cause this. I'll have some people come in to check this out. He left after that. Fast forward to next week, and he meets me in the morning with about 4 other people. These guys are going to look over the machines and adjust things so we no longer have issues. I told you it was dirt. The professionals are going to adjust the settings and you will leave them where they are at. If you don't, you will get written up. This is not up for discussion. Okay, message heard loud and clear. I'll leave it to the professionals and not touch a thing. Thankfully, my powder gun had multiple settings. I asked the professional to set his new settings on another preset. The next day, I noticed the wheels I painted were coming out yellow. I also noticed that the paint was very thin in certain spots. Due to my new settings, the positive charge was blasting powdered paint away from the wheels. A few days go by, GM comes back and sees all my new painted white wheels yellow and asks why everything is coming out yellow. I told him it was because the oven was set too high. Why didn't you change it? That's over 100 wheels that need to be redone. I was told not to change the settings the professional set, so I didn't touch it. He walked over and turned it down and told me to leave it. A week later, I get called into the office. One of our biggest customers was complaining that their wheels needed to be removed and repainted after a week or two due to starting to rust. We delivered over 150 wheels a week to them. What's going on here? The paint is too thin and the customer is complaining. Do I need to call the professionals back in to look things over? It wouldn't change much cause I haven't touched anything on the machines since they were out last time. Just fix it. I don't care what you do, just fix it. He never questioned me again when it came to powder coating. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Paul DNAP. It says, "Oh, please save us from meddling consultants, experts, and professionals. Us numpties who know our jobs will get along just fine without them all." Another commenter down below called Avid Learner Bot said, "Interesting read. I've seen similar situations in my workplace, but thankfully our GM was more hands-on and open to suggestions. When he left for a new role, we noticed a significant drop in morale and productivity. It's clear that sometimes the professionals aren't always the best solution." Both of these comments hit the nail square on the head because OP was doing their job properly, and when the professionals came in, well, they don't really work with that machine constantly. They're not the ones painting parts with them, they're just the ones that, quote unquote, know the machine, probably because they install them and put them together. But the people who spend the hundreds of hours using the machine and actually getting results with the machine, those are the ones we really should be trusting. So the problem in this case was obviously with the GM, who was a giant butthead. This story comes to us from Law Environmental 7506. I am too loud at night? How about Sunday at 6? So this story is not something super interesting, but I wanted to share it because it makes me happy. I live in an apartment complex on the highest floor. When I moved in, I was short on time and painted the walls up until 2 a.m. The ladder made some sound and my neighbors knocked. We were almost done anyways, so we called it quits and thought everything is fine. A month in, and I get a letter from the company that owns the building that says something along the lines, "Disturbance of peace, we got a complaint from your neighbors about construction sounds and regular use of the washing machine in the middle of the night. Please be respectful towards your neighbors and don't be too loud between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. I was pissed. since the construction sounds were only once and I never used my washing machine in the middle of the night, especially not regularly. But I didn't want to start an argument with the company or beef with my neighbors, so I thought since I wasn't doing that anyway, I would just ignore it, and if there's another complaint, I'll reach out. A few weeks ago, I had my sister over on a Saturday, and we watched some TV late at night, and she accidentally kicked over a glass bottle. It happens. Instantly, there were 3 loud and angry knocks coming from below, which somehow ticked me off really bad. Now, since I am obviously too loud, I decided to strictly adhere to the rules and time my washing machine in a way where it ends exactly at 10 p.m. and starts at 6 a.m., especially Sundays. Usually, I did laundry at around 5 p.m., but I got a change of heart and hope that my neighbors are annoyed when my machine wakes them up at 6 in the morning on the weekend. Just like they obviously wanted me to, and they can do nothing about it, since I'm not breaking any rules. OP added an edit down at the bottom. It says, "Edit, I get that they are probably trying to sleep, and I know that the 2 a.m. painting session was a mistake. I am upset that they reacted with complaints to the company and banging on the ceiling instead of talking to me. People are clumsy and drop stuff. I heard other neighbors vacuum and drop things at night, and I simply don't care. Things happen. But if they want to be childish, I'm going to be childish by sticking to the rules." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Bird Bruce. It says, "Why are you trying to be cute with people who have already proven themselves to be liars? Do you think if they are annoyed by you starting right at 6 a.m. that they won't just lie again?" OP responded and said, "Yeah, but luckily I found out that my machine can prove the time when I use it, so if there's another complaint, I can just prove that I didn't use it." OP, I can think of a few other ways to get back at those neighbors downstairs. 6 a.m. on Sunday, I think that sounds like a great time to start learning how to play the bagpipes, don't you? And then in the evening at around, 9:30 p.m. maybe, you could start learning how to line dance as well. That could go for about half an hour. That'd be actually kind of perfect. This story comes to us from Agyani. "Oh, you want all the forms? Sure, let me drown you in paperwork." So yeah, figured I'd share another one of my malicious compliance stories, but this time, it's about dealing with everyone's favorite place, the government office. Had to update my address on some official documents. No big deal, right? Had my lease, utility bill, ID copies all set. But nah, the lady at the counter, we'll call her Miss Forms, was determined to make me regret my life choices. I hand her my papers, she barely looks at them and goes, "Sir, you need to attach form 27B-X. Alright, where do I get that? You'll have to go to section D, also form 19A-Y is required." Cool. I hike over to section D, grab the forms, fill them out, get back. She gives them like a 0.2 second of attention before hitting me with the classic, "You'll also need form 33-K notarized." At this point, I knew she was just making me do the paperwork Olympics for fun. So I flipped the script, went home, printed every single form from their site, seriously, like 15 of them. Some had zero connection to my request, but hey, she wanted forms, right? Got everything notarized, attested, double stamped. Heck, I even got a signature from a guy who looked official just for the vibe. Next day, I show up with a stack of papers thick enough to break a desk. Drop it in front of her, all polite. "Here you go, ma'am. Every possible form you might need. Please check it thoroughly." She blinks, flips through it, sees how deep the rabbit hole goes. Okay, this is more than needed." Yeah, no kidding. 5 minutes later, request approved, no further questions. Turns out following all the rules can be more painful for them than for you. Moral of the story, sometimes the only way to beat the system is to over-comply. Yeah, not sure I'm following along with OP on this one because going home and filling out all that extra paperwork for no real reason just kinda seems dumb. There is a possibility that the person behind the counter was new and they just didn't know exactly which forms they needed until they were told by somebody else after OP had already left the counter. I don't think they were really trying to give OP a hard time. They were just trying to get all the information they needed to do what OP wanted. This story comes to us from Glowing Trash Panda. It will be fine, you can just come over here to poop. So my parents bought the river stilt house next to their house for me to move into to help me out in a number of ways. That's super awesome and I'm forever grateful. However, my mother doesn't like to always think things through and rush them, and God forbid you disagree with her. So it happened that apparently I just had to get moved into the river house before this recent blizzard hit or the world would fall apart or something. Okay, fine, but the problem is that the previous owner died halfway through renovating the place and it doesn't have functional water and sewer. But my mother, in her infinite wisdom, decides that doesn't matter and that I can just walk next door to my parents' place every time I need to use the bathroom, until my dad finishes getting the water and sewer done. She said he would finish it the day or the next after I officially got moved. And then she said the quote that is the title. It will be fine, you can just come over here to poop. Well, I know my dad and that was never gonna happen. And while I'm no stranger to having to piss in a bucket or in a hole in the ground when camping, needing to poop and having to do it in a trash bag in a bucket and then having to deal with that is something that I just do not want to have to do. I have been here 4 days now, and while I tried to not eat or barely eat over the weekend, I got moved Saturday before the storm hit in hopes my dad would be able to finish the water and sewer. All the outside stuff is done, just needs the inside the house stuff done on Sunday or Monday. That didn't happen. So I finally had to eat some actual food and not just candy to keep my blood sugar up come Monday and Tuesday, because I was starting to get super woozy and dizzy. Well, it's 1 a.m. in the middle of the night now, and I woke up with nature freaking calling. So I, as quickly as I could without having an accident, threw my outside gear on, it's almost 0 Fahrenheit at my house, to run over to my parents' house next door, only to discover that their door wouldn't open. The handle would turn, but the door wasn't budging. It was stuck because it was frozen. So I proceeded to use my old cop knock from my EMS days to get one of them to open up, cause I'm about to crap my pants right here on their porch at this point. My mom comes and opens the door a second later, thank Jeebus, and tries to lecture me on that I didn't need to scare her and dad awake at 1 a.m. Meanwhile, I'm running to their bathroom while pulling my pants down and just loudly shout, I gotta effing crap, and I ain't using a trash bag. After taking care of business, I went to go back to my new house, and my mom mentions that maybe she shouldn't have had me move before water and sewer was hooked up. I will continue to not give an F about waking her up at night if I need to take care of business. She said I could come over anytime I needed to do so to use their bathroom, and it's not like I can schedule when my body needs to do its thing, to only happen during normal waking hours. Oh well, maybe now she might actually start to listen when people try to point out why she shouldn't rush certain things. It probably won't happen, but a girl can dream. OP added an edit down at the bottom. It says, edit to add, I'm paying my parents back for this new house once my old house sells with the proceeds left over after the mortgage is taken care of. The new house is a stilt house on a riverbank that they got for only $20,000. It's not like they just bought me a house outright to give me, and the move easily could have waited another week. The old house was completely livable. Mom is just irrationally impatient about things and doesn't listen to others at all when she gets an idea in her head about how things should go. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Rob71788. Great name, by the way. What a train wreck. Please expand on why you didn't push back on moving into an unlivable house. Was your previous situation dire? Definitely awesome of them to buy you a place, but I'm sure it could have waited a week over this. OP responded and said, my previous house is completely livable, and I was content staying there until this new place was ready. The plan is to pay my parents back for this place once the old place sells with whatever money is left over after paying off the mortgage on the old place. They got this new river house for only $20,000. It's admittedly a steal. But trying to be rational with my mother is just not a thing that works. Once she gets an idea in her head, there's no arguing with her unless you want your life to become a living hell for the foreseeable future until she gets her way. She wants to get my old house listed and sold ASAP, even though me getting moved this week doesn't make that happen faster, considering the winter storm has prevented us from getting back out there to start cleaning it up to list it in the first place. Good luck trying to reason with someone that doesn't listen to anybody else at all ever though. OP, I see a couple of perfect solutions to this one. The first one is for you to hire a plumber and get the plumbing done in your house immediately. The second is for you to go to your parents' house every morning around 1 a.m. and use their toilet, because the annoyance should be enough to get your dad's butt in gear to get the work done. Although, if he doesn't, see my first point again about hiring a plumber. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and give us a rating on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.